Good morning, everybody. This is Robert People of RobertPeople.com, and this is People's Court. Today is Monday, April 20th, 2020, and hope everybody is doing well and holding on as much as you can with all this taking place. One day at a time, that's how we got to go at this. Okay, so much is uncertain, so we got to do it a little bit and we'll get through. As you know, as of the last, I want to say, few days at the least, there have been protests going on throughout the country, different states, protesting this lockdown. These are anti-lockdown protests. And the reasons given are freedom, rights, and so forth. Okay? Now, it's mainly the conservative population doing this. Let's just be honest. It's the conservative population doing this. Especially since Fox News, a very heavy conservative station, supports a lot of this. But let's go back a little bit. In 2016, Colin Kaepernick decided one day to take a knee to protest the national anthem because of what was spoken in it. And some of the verses, we don't really hear the verses, but it still exists. And that's what people threw out there was, well, these aren't even, the stuff that's said in the national anthem is not even the parts that we hear anymore. Does that matter? If somebody sings a song on the radio, or they sing a song from the radio, or what have you, and you don't sing the entire song, but you get the theme of the song, it doesn't matter that the person sings the entire thing or what. But anyway, that's what was given. He shouldn't have an issue because we don't even sing that part really anymore. But anyway, he did this. Okay? Legal. Absolutely legal. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was physically hurt. There was no potential to get physically harmed in any kind of way. On top of that, the national anthem during sporting events. Okay, I've been to many sporting events, in stadiums, in arenas. And let me tell you, during this time that these events are going on, the national anthem is going on, few people are even paying attention. Oh yeah, the ones that are in the seats, they stand up, they go, they either look at the Jumbotron, the large monitor, whatever you want to call it, or the person singing the national anthem, the person or the group. There's still a huge number of people outside, concession stands, getting the nachos, the beer, and all this other stuff. Everybody outside doesn't even stop it. And when you watch on television, people they don't even show the national anthem on TV most of the time. Most of the time, they just skip over that part. And they just bring us on in time for the game to begin. And on top of that, people at home don't stand up. People at home don't stand up for a national anthem. You're doing everything under the sun during that time period if they did show it. And most of the time when they show it, it's probably some kind of, if it's a very, famous person doing it, or there's somebody extremely notable, then that's when they'll actually show it. But anyway, that's that. So, for the most part, him doing this, nobody would have noticed that he's even taking a knee. Nobody would. Even if you're looking and see him doing it and not standing up, most people wouldn't care because all you're worried about is then finishing the national anthem, so you can sit down, dig into your nachos, start throwing back your beers, game can begin. Somebody came along and decided to say, why is he doing that? Why is he doing it? And then after it was discovered as to what his reasons were, right away, it became an issue. Now again, freedom of speech, freedom of expression doesn't have to be justified. It was done legally, and that's it. So, as long as he's not hurting anybody or doing something illegal, That's all we got. So people started throwing around, well, it disrespects the flag. Yeah, it disrespects the flag, huh? It disrespects the flag. Then it was thrown out there that it disrespects veterans. Now, 2018, I retired after serving for 21 years. I don't need kudos for that. That's not why I'm putting that out there. What I'm saying it for is, number one, a veteran told him is the one who suggested that he do this. And that's well documented. A veteran was the one who suggested that he do it this way. A veteran. Not only that, even if that did not take place, veterans all over the place, and I was in the Army at that time, veterans all over the place said, we don't have a problem with it because he is exercising his First Amendment rights. It's not about whether we agree with it or not. Nobody asked. That's why he didn't put out a poll to say who all agrees with this or whether I should do this or not. That's the thing about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and all the other freedoms we have. It doesn't need to be justified to anybody. So, of course, if you want justification for one, then there needs to be justification for the others if you're going to go down that road. But with the kneeling, the national anthem, the part that's being sang is, well, roughly maybe a minute. He's down on one knee for about a minute or so, something like that, and that's it. The game goes on. Everything is back to normal. Life is good, right? So we're talking about a minute of kneeling, 1 minute per game, 1 minute per week, because it's football, of course. So 1 minute per week. And for those of you who, by the way, don't know who Colin Kaepernick is, he was a football player. Was in the NFL for the San Francisco 49ers. So, all this and that. Now, while all this was going on, even though it was put out there, even though it was made public that the veteran suggested that Colin Kaepernick do this, which takes away that whole it disrespects veteran thing, along with us saying that we didn't have a problem with it, and this about the flag and so on and so forth. While all this was going on and people and conservatives were ignoring this, ignoring facts that they claim to care about so much, Colin Kaepernick was called everything under the sun, everything. He was called a piece of shit, ungrateful bastard, ungrateful ass, this and that. You can pretty much get it. Everything but a child of God he was called and told things like, if you don't like it here so much, you can leave. I find it hilarious that conservatives go to that every time somebody of color complains about something. Well, if you don't like it here, you can leave. No, I'm going to stay my ass right here. I served in the Army 21 years. I will talk and say as much as the hell I want to say and stay my happy ass here while I do it. Black people are not, number one, we are not slaves. I'll get back to what I'm saying, but we are not slaves. We are not on borrowed time. We don't have to sit here and shut up and be happy with whatever the hell is going on. I don't know which of your parents or grandparents told you that one, but they got you effed up on it. Let's work with facts here. Colin Kaepernick has every right to stay here and protest, exercise his freedoms like anybody else. That doesn't even go with it. You don't like it here, you can leave. No, I think I'm gonna stay here. Also, what was said was, well, he should be thankful that he's making millions of dollars. Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. He should be thankful that this is a country that's giving him millions of dollars to play a sport. I can tell you everything that's wrong with that statement. Number one, nobody's giving him anything. He worked at it. Whether you want to believe it or not, he worked at it. And I guarantee he's worked harder than, for those of you conservatives listening, I guarantee he's worked harder than you to earn that millions of dollars that he got. So let's not go to the whole somebody's just giving it to him. No, no, because everybody can't play quarterback in the NFL. I don't care whether you like the sport or not, whether you are a fan. I don't need all that. I don't care if you like the 49ers. None of that's important. None of that is relevant right now. He worked hard. He earned what he got. And if you think it's easy, go try out for a team this July. I think that's when training camp starts. Go try out for a team. If you think it's just easy to get that millions of dollars like that, when July hits, then let's hear it. Let's see what you got. Okay? So, on top of that, complaints come out about how much they get paid. Now, number one, this isn't about why athletes get paid what they do. That's a different conversation altogether. So I'm not interested in any responses. Let me put a disclaimer out there as far as that goes. This is not about how much they get paid. If you don't understand why professional athletes get paid what they do, you need to do some homework. This is not about, oh my goodness, they shouldn't get paid that much anyway. If you don't get why, do some homework. Because I don't have time to explain it all to you, because you got to do your own research on why that is, why they make what they do. Yeah, it's real nice, and it's wonderful that military should get paid more, and nurses, doctors, law enforcement, they should get paid more. I get the sentiment. I appreciate it, but you got to understand why it's that way. You have to understand why it's like that. Continuing to make the gestures and not knowing the reasons for it, that's not really getting us anywhere. Yeah, I was a veteran, and yeah, we should. I appreciate you saying I should get paid more than a football player does, but you got to understand why it's not that way. So anyway, all this was said to Colin Kaepernick, and again, what was he doing? Exercising his First Amendment right. Oh, people also said, let me not forget that, people also said things like, well, he needs to do it on his own time. If that's what you thought, do some homework on what protest means. Do some research on that. It's not about when you're comfortable. It's about when he wants to do it. See, that's the thing about freedom. That's the good thing about freedom in this country. I don't have to do it when you're ready for me to do it. I do it when the hell I feel like doing it. Freedom, right? Everybody don't have to be comfortable with me doing it. As long as I'm not violating some law, going against what exactly the freedom means, then I'm okay to do it. There's no rules. You don't get to tell me when I have to do this. I do it when I feel like doing it. Period. So all this was going on. And of course, people threw out there, well, if he's so upset about the black community and all this, how come he doesn't do more? Again, homework, basic research would tell you that he does. He's donated a lot of money to his community. So, come on, if you're not going to do the homework, what are you going to do? You're going to show up to school and get embarrassed, right? Do your homework. You ask all these questions, do your homework. Or you will look stupid when it's time to go back to school. So we come back to today. Let's fast forward to today. And right now, and again, as I started this off, in several states, there are protesting, anti-lockdown protests. Now, of course, those are freedoms as well, right? In this country, those are freedoms all the same. You have the right to do that. But let's look at where we are right now. There's a pandemic, a global pandemic, coronavirus. Now, unlike Colin Kaepernick and the NFL and 49ers, where a smaller number of people are fans or a smaller number of people know about it, this is something that I think pretty much everybody in the world gets. So I don't have to go deep into what is going on with that. It's affecting you in some type of way. If you live on planet Earth, it's affecting you in some manner to where you know what's happening. So people are not protesting having to stay home. And you're saying, and folks are saying things like, it's about liberty, it's about freedom, it's about all that. Most of the ones doing this that I'm aware of are conservatives. And again, yes, you have the right to do whatever it is that you're doing. However, this is a pandemic because this virus is still being passed around. People are still contracting this virus. It's highly contagious, and it's still there. It's still there, and it's highly circulating is not the right word to use, but you understand what I'm saying here. It's going around, so it's still being passed around. I don't recall the number at this moment, but it's very high. Very high. And climbing constantly. Hospitals are backed up. Equipment is short. That's what's going on right now. So in these states, as far as I know, Texas, Michigan, I believe certain areas of California, but anywho, these are people. Now, of course, we have social guidelines. There's a lot of states are in lockdown. I don't believe every state does not have lockdown orders. But the social distancing guidelines are there. Keep 6 feet. In some states it's mandatory to wear a mask. It's mandatory to wear a mask. It's mandatory to keep 6 feet apart. Others, these are recommendations, and so on. So anyway, to avoid, contracting this virus, this is what's suggested, or in some cases, again, ordered to do, or what you're ordered to do. The people are ordered to do in these states. So anyway, this is going on. Now, of course, during these protests, they're protesting pretty much everything about this, the staying at home orders, the 6 feet of social distancing. So, of course, these protests, everybody's all hugged up and hunched, together and everything. And one word I've seen, which is the point of this podcast, is that people are throwing around words like liberty and freedom and everything else. Now, yeah, it's a freedom. Absolutely it is. But conservatives, let me make something clear. This has nothing to do with liberty. Liberty or patriotism has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with that. Again, I go back to Colin Kaepernick. What he did had zero potential of making anyone physically ill. No virus was being passed on, none of that. Nothing. He was exercising a right to protest something that is a problem in this country, and that's a fact. This is not a discussion piece. This is not something we talk about. Well, it's really not a problem. I'm not asking whether it's a problem or not. It is. I'm a 40-year-old black man, married to a Latina, so we're not asking. Neither of us are asking if it's a problem in this country. It is. But again, what was the harm? What's the physical harm caused by him taking a knee? Nothing. People couldn't catch anything from him doing that. However, the people protesting right now, the majority conservatives are saying this is all about liberty and everything else. Now, if people were to there's the potential that any of those people could have the virus. They could pass it back and forth to those who are there. And on top of that, when they come back and start doing whatever, when the government decides to open the country back up, and they're doing business and hanging with and ignoring the 6 feet apart with those who followed the rules, now there's the potential of passing that virus on to them, the ones who did what they were supposed to do, the ones who did what would be helpful and beneficial in all this. So it's not just them. They're being selfish is what they're doing. They're being extremely selfish. Now, of course, again, it's all about liberty. It's all about patriotism, but it has nothing to do with that. If it did, you would be okay with Colin Kaepernick because he's doing the same exact thing, or he did the same exact thing. He's exercising his rights. The rights that I, along with, millions of others, but the rights that I fought for. That means if I'm okay with one doing it, I'm okay with the other. But if you're going to question why one person's doing it, take a good look at why you're doing it also. Now, we're ignoring the fact about how, the president and conservative lawmakers and so on, how they're encouraging this kind of behavior rather than saying, hey, you know what? We need to be smart about this. Let's be smart about what we're doing so we can get rid of this. Folks are more concerned about the economy and everything else. That's not important right now. Because if you die, if people die, how is that going to help the economy anyway, right? But conservatives love to do this whole thing about liberty every time they do something. Every time they protest, every time they grab a gun and walk around outside, it's in the name of liberty. We are true patriots. True patriots, huh? Okay. True patriots. True patriots because you do what? Because you decide to be selfish, because you decide to put other lives in danger, put your own life in danger. And when you come back home from these protests, are you going to avoid your family members? Your older family members, are you going to stay away from them? Because, oh, by the way, these folks have older, and of course, obviously older parents. They have parents, they have grandparents, right? Some of them, well, a lot of them do. And are they going to avoid them just in case something gets passed on to them? Or better yet, do we care? Do they care? A lot of questions could be asked here. But this isn't about liberty. People are doing this because Trump wants you to do it. People are doing it because Fox News wants you to do it. That's why it's happening. You're following Trump. You're following Fox News. You're following anything that goes against Democrats. That's why you're doing it. It has nothing to do with liberty. If it was about liberty, you'd be raising your right hand. If it had to do with liberty and patriotism, you'd be visiting a recruiter's office when all this is over with. You would have done so by now. If that's really what this was all about. But no, this is about making a statement and saying, oh, the Democrats want this. Well, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to really show those liberals, right? That's what this is about. Because when Colin Kaepernick can do what he did and be called everything in the book with no danger, when no one, absolutely no one was in danger. And yet this can happen. People's lives are in danger. Those who are participating can go back and pass this on to someone else. And that be okay? This has nothing to do with liberty. And this is about race as well, because anytime people of color do anything, there's a problem. It's with protesting, because of course, even along with that, and I'll wrap up on this. Along with that, when folks protest, conservatives, the first thing they say is, "Well, don't these people have jobs? Don't these people have jobs?" Not like Republicans don't protest. There's all these Nazi rallies and everything else going on. White supremacist rally. Nobody ever questions if they have jobs. Nah, just when a liberal or when a person of color doesn't. My entire message, my entire point with this is stop throwing around that this is about liberty. Stop throwing around that this is about being patriots and quote unquote taking your country back and fighting for your country and all this and that. Because if you haven't raised your right hand and served, you haven't fought for anything. You're just trying to go against the grain because you think that's what Democrats don't want. That's what liberals hate. What is the harm in not wanting to see people die? What's the harm in saying, you know what, let's get this thing under control so less people die from it? What's the harm in that? Some of you want to go so much against that rather than just look at it and say, look, the worst that happens is that we don't die. But now this thing has to drag along. There are plans to open the country back up. And folks are spending so much time. They're trying so hard to sound unbiased with all this. But that's not where you are. This is about something. Do you think this is something Trump wants? You get desperate also. I understand that. You get desperate with this. You get desperate and decide to do things that aren't smart. In some cases, downright foolish. But the bottom line is, this has nothing to do with liberty. It's not. It has nothing to do with it. It's a way to stick it to everyone who you think is against you, which in this case is liberals. And that's exactly why we are going to be in this for a long period of time. Not because of the virus simply existing, because if we did what we need to do, and here's the bottom line of all this, if we do what we need to do, this virus will be gone shortly. But because people don't want to do what they need to do, the virus is going to stick around for a much longer time period. And yes, if you want to say it's your freedom to do that, then yes, you're correct. It is your freedom to do it. But you don't get to call it liberty. You don't get to call it patriotism. Because what it is downright foolish and selfish. This is Robert People of robertpeople.com. Thank y'all for listening. Hang in there. Y'all be good. I'll talk to y'all again on Wednesday.